Hey, welcome in, fans, to another episode of the Two Line Pass podcast. The Fanley Cup series rolls on, my friends. That's where we're talking to you, the fans, getting to know you and how you experienced the inaugural season of the Utah Hockey Club. I'm Randon. With me, as always, is Dustin, who's suffering a bit from the seasonal allergies, but not enough to keep him out of the game yet. And we have a phenomenal guest, a fantastic fan of the Utah Hockey Club, a future senator, nay, the president, I say, Erik Nystul. Erik, welcome, man. Thanks so much for joining us.
It's heckin' good to be here. I feel like you and I have crossed paths in weird, not direct ways. So it's cool to talk in person and kind of share our love and our collective joy.
Well, we are very excited to have you on the show and get your thoughts, your experiences. We've kind of talked a little bit. We've interacted on the Twitter sphere, and I'm excited to meet you in almost person, in virtual, we'll say in COVID person, right?
Yeah.
Erik, there are those out there listening right now that don't know you. So why don't you introduce yourself for the fans at home?
Yes. Well, my name is Erik. I work at Utah Valley University, and it's a weird connection I have. I am the director of government internships. So because of that, I am really tied into local politics, local politicians, for better or for worse. And between that and my lifelong hockey fandom, it's been a real joy and treat to see the progress, the journey, the very quick work of a team coming to Utah. And so just from my exact seat, from my point of view, it's been cool to see it all unfold. And it's so kismet. It's so meant to be. This team is blessed by the hockey gods right now.
This whole state is being blessed by the day, and it just keeps getting better and better. You mentioned that you're a lifelong hockey fan, so the hockey club comes to Utah, and that turns the hockey world on its head. What was your hockey fandom before Utah came, and was it easy to leave the past behind and go all in on Utah?
Yes and no, just because I never thought Utah would get a team. So if something like that would happen, I drop all pretense and I'm like, this is home. However, when people ask why hockey, and I'm like, I was born in St. Paul, Minnesota. It's kind of in my blood. My dad comes from just over the border in Fargo, so he grew up watching the old North Stars. And my mom's family are from Southern California, so they're rabid Kings fans. My wife is from Orange County, so she was there when Arrowhead Pond was built, it's just like I've had a lot of reasons to be around hockey, and it's been hard to be a fan from afar. So as a kid, huge Wild fan. Marian Gaborik was my favorite player growing up. Then when Vegas got a team, I thought, okay, this is it. There will never be a team closer than this. So I spent so much money. We made so many trips. My wife didn't mind that at all, the occasional weekend trip to go to a game. But yeah, and just loved the Stanley Cup run. But then when the whispers came around of Utah possibly getting a team, I'm like, okay, they will be my number one. No questions asked. I love the Wild. I want the Knights to win, as long as Utah can't physically be there to play and win against them. But no, this was something I never thought could happen. And so I'm like, I don't care that I have past allegiances. This is the best thing that's ever happened to me.
I did the same thing, and I thought the exact same thing in terms of as soon as they announced the franchise in Vegas, I dropped the allegiance to Colorado because I was like, geographically, it's closer, and I enjoy going to Vegas much more than I enjoy going to Denver. So it just seemed like the logical thing to do, to just drop Vegas. So a fellow Vegas off the bandwagon onto Utah. Now, Erik, you were telling us that you were kind of in the mix of things while this is all happening early last year in the spring. As all the rumors are happening, all the things are unfolding, like you said, rather quickly. I mean, this is all happening in the span of days, weeks to get the team here. Tell us about that experience, the way you saw it.
So how I got my job as government internships director at UVU. I was a intern for the legislature 22, a few years back, and I met then Senator Dan McKay. I'm a big nerd. I also like flags, and when the new state flag was becoming an issue, I said, "Hey, listen, we're going to pass great bills about lowering taxes, saving water. Who cares? I've wanted the new state flag for a long time." And then we became friends. He is also a big hockey guy. He was one of the ice cleanup crew for the O2 Olympic hockey venue, and has just loved his I believe he's Californian, so whether Sharks or Kings, I'm like, it's either one of those, and they're hated rivals. But yeah, we got to talking about this, and it's funny, for everything that was going wrong in Arizona, that behind the scenes there was legislators and powers that be in Utah saying, "Hey, we will do this now just in case." And Ryan was very good at saying, like, "Oh yeah, whether it's through the expansion or just if something were to happen," and everyone's reading the tea leaves and knowing that this is all but assured. So it was fun to see the legislature hop on board and make things happen and do things knowing what was coming down the pipeline. I wasn't like all in every secret conversation, but there was so much wink, wink, nudge, nudge happening that I still feel for Coyotes fans. I will never rub a loss of your favorite sports team in your face, but unfortunately, we had an owner who was willing to walk the walk, do all the right moves, make all the right moves, say all the right things, and I'm happy he was on Gary's good side at a good time.
Yeah, it seemed that fortune favored us with the timing, but I thought for sure I never thought we'd get a team, but I thought it would be in the expansion. But it's good to hear that the legislators are at least involved in the conversation, because there's going to be so much going on, especially with like the renovations and stuff, and that connection between ownership and state and local government, that a lot of people just kind of forget that kind of has to happen. And then next thing you know, they're writing an article about, a $800 million subsidy from the city, and whether that's a good or bad thing. So that's pretty awesome that you kind of have your hands in that pot to be able to experience that as it goes.
Yeah, it's old now, but if you look up, it was either on KUTV or Fox 13, there's this article of like, state leaders show support for NHL in Utah. And I'm there on the floor of the Utah Senate just because he invited me to be part of history. So I'm going to like say, put on my resume, I am a state leader, or just some guy who managed to weasel his way in. And I sat next to a guy who I didn't know. His name was Mike Mon. And I know him now, and I'm kicking myself that I'm like, wasn't peppering him with questions. But I guess at that time we were all just flying by the seat of our pants and taking things as they came. But I knew that with the Olympics coming up, they were absolutely going to pour money into the city and get things rolling eventually. But I think once whisperings of, NHL could happen sooner rather than later, they're like, you know what, let's for no reason pass all this funding legislation 10 years in advance. And because they kind of knew what was shaping up.
Well, that's fantastic. Looking at the Delta Center and the upgrades that are coming, do you have a chance to experience the games this season?
I made the great and terrible life choice to start grad school right before this all happened. I did make sure to get to the inaugural game. I moved heaven and earth and got a great seat center ice just by myself. Just bought a which luckily for me, a seat just turned up in the row that Utah Hockey Club staff sit in. So there was an extra one, and I got to talk to trainers, and yeah, it was a great time. I watched every game streaming though. I'm hopefully with this fancy degree I have, I'll be able to afford more games. But seeing the renovations, and I kind of knew what they wanted to do with like blowing out the edges and making them steeper and retractable seats. And I'm like, I know what you're going for. I just can't visualize it, and that's never been done before. And so the video that they put out just recently showing literally how they're doing that, I'm like, wow, they're reinventing the wheel when it comes to dual purpose arenas. And it's going to make me more excited to go to more games next season. And it's so fun to, and I feel for Arizona fans, but it feels like the Smith group is the complete antithesis of what the Morello group was doing. Willing to innovate, take chances, bet on themselves. Yeah, so I feel like every little thing, even down to like, hey, we designed a new retractable seating for the arena. I'm like, of course you did, because this is amazing.
They've got some pretty cool architecture things that they're doing. And it's interesting. The first hockey game I ever went to at the Delta Center was back when the Utah Grizzlies came and they won the Turner Cup. They swept the Orlando Solar Bears, and I was maybe 8 years old at the time. And I don't remember being in an obstructive view. Like in my kid brain, everything was just perfect. But then having sat in some obstructed view seats, like it wasn't that bad, but to see that they're going to have basically what I think we would all agree will be a world-class venue for both hockey and basketball. It's just going to be incredible. But for fans like you who, and Dustin and I have benefited from this too. How great has SEG Media been in terms of being accessible, whether it's SEG Plus or whether it's Utah 16 or whatever, so fans who aren't at the game can still consume the game. And I think that's maybe a just as much of an accomplishment, getting that off the ground, the whole network, as getting the renovations started. What are your thoughts on SEG Media?
Yeah, it bugs me when people on the fan groups on Facebook kind of nitpick the broadcast. And I'm just like, the fact that there is a broadcast period is a small miracle. And our play-by-play people, Sarah Rinkside, having an Olczek report to UHC, like, forget about it. Like, it's crazy. Like, I've seen some. I love minor league hockey as well, so I'm used to some really janky internet broadcasts. And like me and my dad were talking because we've always bought NHL Center Ice to stream Wild games, and so we were like, okay, first season, they're just kind of figuring things out. We'll see how this goes. But no, at first they did not have all the bells and whistles, but they had everything. It was easy. I paid my subscription. The games were always there. There was always those people that are like, hey, did anyone's stream just explode? Mine never did. And full credit to, I can't believe, I knew they would do it. I can't believe how fast everything fell into place, and well enough that it wasn't a painful experience, at least for me. I know there's some outliers, but I knew they would get to all this stuff eventually. But wow, I am so glad they're hopping on the opportunity and not just like, oh, we'll get to it eventually, give us a break, it's only been a few months. No, they were all in from the beginning, and I think they did a good job at striking while the iron was hot and while fans were interested.
Absolutely. And they leveraged that to also get people into the seats. Everyone who, went to, if you subscribe to SEG Plus, you got 2 free tickets and all that stuff. But just an incredible product, like you said, in such a short amount of time. And I wonder how much of this was, because I'm not a Jazz fan per se. So Dustin, you may have some insight into this. How much of the infrastructure was originally designed for the Jazz games that they just were like, oh, we're just going to move this in, but then they just had almost as if it was all set up anyway, like, just preordained, like you said, with the on ice crew and with Nick Olczek coming in. Just fantastic that they had that. And Dustin, did they have that already? Did the Jazz have a streaming platform before, or was this the first year of it?
I think this was the first year of them actually streaming Jazz games, but they were putting them on like local TV, because that's one of the things that Ryan Smith heard of, like from fans when he first bought the team, is that all of the games were on cable and satellite and not accessible like through local channels. So they were broadcasting on local, but I believe, don't quote me, because I've as the Jazz have started to suck and we've gotten an NHL team, my interest in the NBA has really faded to the back of my mind. But I think this is the first year that they streamed. It was just available locally over like Utah 16 or whatever it is now.
That's it's crazy. But let me ask you this, Eric. So Dustin and I have been kicking around an idea for the SCG media team. Let me ask you, you're going to be our focus group here. Okay. So did you ever catch the Nashcast? Did you ever actually watch that?
Oh, yeah. I would watch the game live, normal broadcast. And then the next day at work, I would have the TV in my office doing the Nashcast, so I didn't miss a single thing.
All right, so you've consumed it, so you know where we may be going. So what if? So Tyson Nash has a deep history with Arizona, and he's a tremendous hockey mind and a good person all around. However, Dustin and I, who have been sometimes fairly critical of Liam O'Brien, we both recognize that he is the most beloved player from the fans, but his on ice, production maybe is somewhere that can be replaced. But what if we tossed him in the booth, and instead of the Nashcast, we had the tuna can? Would you watch Spicy Tuna in his version of the Nashcast?
I tend to be hyperbolic, but I will say I feel safe in saying that my routine would then switch. Liam would get top billing. That would be the way I watch a game. And then I'd catch Maddie later, just so I don't miss anything. But wow, that would be incredible. I love Tyson's stories, but Tyson was not the role of a bodyguard, a mucker. I so badly want that now. I will that into existence with you.
Yes, the tuna can! It's coming, guys. The tuna can is coming. I think he's such a personality, right? And he's so much with his hair and his beard and everything. Like, he's just such a recognizable face, and the crowd loved him. He absolutely won the press conference. I mean, I don't want him to leave Utah ever. Like, I don't necessarily want him to play high profile minutes for Utah, but I want him to stay in the state and in the organization. And I hope he realizes how loved he is, that when his time as a player comes to an end, that we will embrace him with open arms on the media side.
Yeah, we just need to convert him to Utah life quickly. I mean, he just became a dad. We got that going for us. We just need to keep him happy, keep him here, and let's give him a job with the organization once he retires from his playing days, just like chief punching officer or something like that. Just, give him an official role to still be with the team, and then, pass on his knowledge.
That's the way to be. So one thing we've been asking everybody, this is a question that has had some similar answers, but everybody looks at it differently. This season has had incredible moments from start to finish, from the inaugural game to the final game. Whether you witnessed it in person, on television, or just in highlights, Eric, what is your single favorite moment from this inaugural season?
Gunner's first goal. I wanted so badly to temper my expectations and just be like, okay, Chicago's up and coming. They've got Bedard. They may lose this game. They might not score today. I'm trying to, no matter what happens, I'm going to be happy. And then when, laid off, pass back to Gunner and just rips it home, and I lost my balance. I'm pretty sure my eardrums exploded and then healed spontaneously. I just could not believe that. So in my office at work, maybe I've shared this online, maybe you've seen it. I have the picture of him scoring that goal, and he's autographed it for me. So, and I'm just, that was the first, wow, this is real. This actually really happened. I mean, there's so many others, like Barrett's hat trick. I was like, wow, this is the first hat trick of my team. when, what was it, like, I they're all running together, but when we killed off like 8,000 minutes of penalty in the third period of that one game, that
was
was
the Hurricanes game. That was
yeah,
that was Vemelka's coming out party.
that was nuts. And I've watched a lot of hockey, and I've seen very few things like that. And just seeing in that moment, not only was it a great heroic moment for our PK, but seeing the fans appreciate it and just like know what they're cheering for and the effort of our guys. And then one post game where Sergey said, like, hearing you guys chant Utah, Utah, that like got us going. And I'm like, that was again, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's happening. We have a team. The players are digging it. The fans are showing up, and there's so many pinch me moments.
Aside from your signed Gunther, you also have that beautiful Keller jersey
Yes.
that you've got framed in your office. So I'll let Dustin ask his patented question that ties into that one.
I was gonna say you jumped right onto my favorite bandwagon, so you've talked. I'm gonna switch it up a little bit, just because you brought up like sitting on that row with the trainers and whatnot. Then you've also brought up the media, so I'll bring them into this also. Between trainers, media, and players, pick a favorite.
Ooh. Like anyone who touches the UHC staff.
Anybody, SEG, UHC, support staff, training staff, players, anybody. If one of the trainers was like the most informative and talking to you a bunch during that game, if you know their name, throw it out there.
Oh man. Oh, I feel like I could pick one at every level that of people that have been awesome and amazing. Even like
Give it to us. Favorite trainer, favorite media member, and favorite player. A 3-pack.
Trainer, I feel bad I don't remember her name, but she was the team radiologist. She was like, I hope I don't get called at all today. And I'm like, I guess that's true. Like, something really bad has to go wrong if you're getting called. And she's like, hey, do you want this? They gave it to us staff members, and it was a voucher for dinner that night. So when Gunner scored that first goal, I had Chick-fil-A all over my lap. And I'm pretty I had Chick-fil-A sauce running down my pants just because like I shot out of my seat when it happened. So good memories, and it's all thanks to her. Media wise, the fact that we got Maddie to come from Arizona to here, like I guess I knew that was possible, but again, I try to temper. I'm like, it might not go that way. I love his insight, his stories, and the fact that he's been with these guys for a long time, that he can kind of speak to their progress and kind of say, oh, Keller has taken so many steps since 3 years ago, and here's how. I love that insight. I love Nash just for him and Austin are a great duo, and just bring so much joy, levity, life, and fun experiences. But I would say my all-time favorite person right now is, weirdly, Bill Armstrong. The moves he makes, the person he is. I listened to 2 interviews with him today. One with Hans and Scotty, and then right after that, I pulled up him on What Chaos today, talking about shooting up and getting the 4th overall, and just that. I love sports. I follow sports like crazy. There's no other general manager like that that's just such a straight shooter, honest, and just say, oh yeah, here's where we're lacking. Oh yeah, he didn't show up that day. And maybe I'm just grateful for the team he's put together, but trusting his process and kind of seeing his mindset go through, and every move that they made in Arizona, taking on bad deals and trading away picks, that I'm like, wait, no, he had upside. And then seeing to where they are now, it's like, oh, that's why you're a professional GM and I'm not. So just, he is the architect of this joyous thing and the reason why we had any sniff of a playoff hope this year. And so with potentially Simashev coming, Boot, and just all the things coming down the pipeline, and thinking like, hey, we could even turn that number 4 pick into a guy who's ready right now, because we have prospects out the yin yang. So we could like turn it into maybe a really good centerman who can like hold his own in space. And it's just so fun to think about like all the moves he's made thus far that have all coalesced into this moment that I'm like, I would call my shot and say, yeah, we're making the playoffs next year. It's just, I'm grateful to him and his efforts and kind of going through some, and Coach Bear as well. They both went through it and have gone through some really crappy years. And us fans, unfortunately not the Arizona fans, but us fans are the beneficiaries of it.
Sometimes
Now,
it just
Randon-
takes a new scene to get it in.
Randon, my turn. My turn. I unmuted. That makes it my turn.
You have allergies,
You
sir.
You
have
stole one of my
allergies.
questions. You stole one of my questions. I'm stealing one of yours. You
Okay.
bring up GMBA. Randon loves to answer this question, so right now I'm going to have you put your GM hat on. Now that we know we have the 4th pick, so that you can toss that in there as well. So I'll lob a two-parter at you. What would you do with the 4th pick? I know there's a lot of really good prospects out there, but we are sort of in win now mode and may be able to move that for a team that has some talent but wants to sort of stockpile dudes in the minors and coach them up. What would you do with the 4th pick? And then is there anybody in the offseason that you want to see the hockey club add on to their roster, either free agent or trade?
I will say I don't buy the Marner hype as much, just because like he's a great player, but we're kind of deep where he plays. We have other needs. And at the same breath, I've seen people tie Sam Bennett to potentially coming here, which he strikes me as a Corey Perry, Tom Wilson. Like, you hate if you play against him, but if he's on your team, you'll ride or die with him. I was looking at mock drafts last night, and I'm like, man, I would love if Misa fell down to 4. Probably won't happen. Well, I don't know. Who knows what hit between Hagens, Schaefer. Like, they'll all be great if we just decide to do the GMBA route and just take the best player, period, and just roll with it. But I would love if we could trade back a little bit, still get a decent prospect, same position, but also pick up a guy that could help us in the here and now, or at least help our depth, that if a Dursey or a Cooley kind of needs to take a week to take care of something that they took a knock, that it wouldn't ruin our playoff hopes. So I would, if it was me, I would trade back maybe a few picks and pick up a piece. But they're in such a good situation now that I'm like, no matter what you do, it's going to be good. It's you take a top 4 guy, fantastic. You take a win now guy, fantastic. You've got 10 more coming down the road anyways. So I would trade back. You asked me what I would do if I was GM. Yeah, I'd pick up a nice piece now and trade back for a prospect that's maybe less lauded, but probably still going to have a fine career.
I like that. That's a good answer. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think, with everything you've seen this year, do you think next year is a playoffs or bust year, or are you willing to continue to let this team grow and develop?
Okay, just like the dumb fan in me says, oh yeah, playoffs or busts. We were right there and we were injured, so if we're not injured, we should make it. But it was a good reality check when Bill Armstrong got to Utah and said, yeah, we're 40% done with the rebuild. And I'm like, wait, what? They look pretty good. Again, I've resigned myself that I don't know better than professional hockey GMs. And that also gets me more excited to know that even if we don't make it, heaven forbid, next season, that I'm like, he's still got like 50-60% of a plan in place. That he's like, I've got these pieces moving. I've got 3 second rounders next year that I can turn into someone else. And so I'm very much trusting the process. and I maybe I'm also in the honeymoon period where, like, even if the team never won a game, I'd still love them more than life itself. But no, it's not playoffs or bust, because I trust Bill. I've seen the body of work, and I'm like, I've seen how they've gotten better and better and better and better, and how he can pull off a Sergachev deal, a Marino deal, and just kind of blow my mind. So because I trust him, no, I'm not like, there will be no pitchforks at all next season from me.
Okay. I'm not going to sell you my ample supply of torches or pitchforks, but I am going to ask you a question. So this is like, usually we ask the same kind of questions, but we tailor them to each guest. And this one, I think, is a question that you may be able to answer better than any of the other guests that we've had on. So you're tied to state and local politics. You're very active. You're very engaged in the political scene. You understand the geopolitical nature of the relationships between the United States and Canada. There have been a lot of reports about players, specifically in the NHL and potentially Canadian franchises, having a difficulty retaining players due to whether it's taxes, a weakening Canadian dollar, or anything. And those players may be choosing American-based franchises, specifically in states that don't have an income tax. Do you think there's any merit to that, or is it just kind of like a, hey, strike while the iron's hot, it's a political hot button issue, let's just run with it, and because it's a story to write? Or do you think there is some financial benefit and players will take that into consideration, and specifically choosing maybe a place like Utah over a Canadian team?
I do this all the time when I'm presented with an either or. I say, and maybe it's because I'm a budding politician, Lord, I hope not. But both things are true. It is true that a Texas or a Florida team, I feel, has an unfair advantage, just because they can say, hey, we'll give you $100 million and you'll get every single penny of it, versus us. That it's crazy that Utah, who brags to be the reddest state in the union, like, we still have taxes. And I'm like, now I want them to run a bill that says we don't tax professional athletes. But also, I feel like that can be an excuse for Canadian teams at times. It's interesting to see, like Winnipeg looks at themselves and says, like, oh, we're so great, it's just because we're Canadian and in Winnipeg. And I'm like, I know that you don't spend as much on your players. Your fans kind of aren't super stoked to be there in the regular season unless you're like winning and give them a good reason to. So yeah, I feel like that can be kind of a cop-out for especially Canadian teams, just to say, oh, America's better. I'm like, well, yeah, because we win. Just kind of, yeah, buck up. And like, I will admit, this postseason has me kind of worried that this could be the closest the U.S. comes to not keeping the cup in its rightful home. But yeah, I am, when the Rantanen trade to Dallas was happening, I was one of those embittered people saying, like, oh, they don't have tax, that's not fair, we should get a bonus. I don't know, it's not like, well, actually Florida teams do win it a lot. And yeah, I'm like, there's some correlation there. Maybe the more taxy states should get a break from the league. But then I'm just bitter. Canada just needs to shut up and win some games. But also, yes, Florida and Texas have an unfair advantage.
I like it. And hopefully it's not like 93. I could go my entire lifetime and have no Canadian franchise win a Stanley Cup, and I would die a happy man. So I think
Four Nations and hearing Freebird played over and over and over again really stoked my nationalism. So yeah, it's at kind of all-time highs right now.
And how good was Four Nations as an all-star break? I think that truly set the standard for what an all-star break should be.
I loved seeing ESPN and all the morning shows the next day saying, like, man, why is this so awesome? And why can't basketball, why can't anyone else do something this cool? Like, they're like, NHL just fell backwards into this. And I'm like, well, no, not exactly. There's kind of a long-term strategy. But if this can make, I would love to see like a USA versus world team in NBA. Like, I don't even know who half the players are, but I'm sure they would play harder than whatever they do right now. Yeah, I need to go to whatever the 26 version that they're coming up with. Just that energy was amazing, and I can only imagine what it was like to be in Boston for those games.
It's the NHL is doing such a good job of marketing their product now. I think more than ever, they've really come out of the COVID break and put the pedal to the metal and are doing some fantastic things. Do you think that we get a winter game? Maybe not the Winter Classic, but a Stadium Series, maybe up at Rice Eccles soon?
Oh, it's not a matter of if. It's when. I do know that right now they're just looking at the stadium and just kind of figuring where does refrigeration go? What time of day do we do this? Just because obviously it's not covered, so it would have to be some kind of a night game. So that doesn't lend itself to a Winter Classic anyways. But no, the NHL's been out here, and that is absolutely in the works. And I'm like, how crazy would it be if we got a Stadium Series game before the Delta Center was even fully furnished for hockey? What a cool story. Actually, I want to ask you guys, because you're kind of experts. Have you noticed in your comings and goings, looking at other teams, other markets, because of Vegas's success, Seattle's success, Utah's crazy new market, like small market, this isn't going to work, and then it blows up. Do you see the NHL kind of like, it's actually not too bad to relocate teams or to give expansions out? Do you think this is going to happen not fast and furious, but just more, if not like rather than not at all?
Yeah, I think that money talks. And if there is money to be made, they're going to be making it. Now, I'd have to look and see when the ESPN contract is up, because I don't think anything would happen before that. And just like something very topical is like college football and realignment with college football and all of it. Every decision that was made was all around media rights deals, right? And we can say that, oh, there's tradition, there's history, there's blah, blah, blah. No, it's money, pure and simple, right? Put your conference in a position to make the most money with a media partner. And I think especially with the salary cap going up, that's what the NHL is going to be looking at. And if they expand, it's going to be, do we expand to leverage negotiations and a media deal or anything like that? I think it would all be tied to money. The Arizona fans have been quite rude to me personally, so I hope that they don't get a team. I hope they don't. I hope we give it to Manitoba or whatever, Moose Jaw, in Canada before we give it back to those jerks. But, there's one guy, Matty Smith. He's a good guy. So I'm sorry, Matt, if you're listening. I take
love
it back.
Lost in the Utah Moose Jaw rivalry.
Nope, not at all. Saskatchewan's finest. But Dustin, what do you think? Any expansion teams?
I think you hit the nail right on the head. It is all just financially based. I mean, you made the comparison to college football, and right now we have Stanford and Cal playing in the Atlantic Coast Conference. So yeah, it is all just completely driven by the almighty dollar. And expansion will come down to basically, what is the media deal going to be? What would new teams bring in? And does that make the piece of the pie that each team gets bigger, or does it make it smaller? And if it makes it smaller, there's not going to be any expansion teams. And if it makes it a little bit bigger, they'll find somewhere to expand. It's all going to be just purely financial based.
Yeah, I understand that the league is like, oh yeah, we're totally willing to return to Arizona. I think if Phoenix wasn't such an enormous market with so many people, if they just put up with 30 years of inept owners in Moose Jaw, they would say, no, we've been there, done that. It's like Atlanta. It's like, oh, you'll give us $2 billion? Yeah, third time's a charm. Let's go to Atlanta again. And I feel like now that I'm a fan invested in this, I'm like, hey, I'll take whatever 1/32 of $2 billion is.
Right. I think it would come in the form of expansion too, because I've been looking at it, and early in this podcast history, we joked that Arizona was a likely team because I viewed Arizona as, so, have you ever played any sports, like the EA sports games, the video games at all? So you know how when you create a franchise, you sometimes have to replace an existing franchise to get your creative team in? I always replaced the Arizona Coyotes. It was a no-brainer. I just would replace them. But I'm trying to find, like, who's that team that would relocate? Like, a team that has, historically struggled, ownership group issues, things like that. Like, ownership alone issues haven't been enough to move teams, but like the only team I can really think about is Columbus. And I don't want to like capitalize on a tragedy, but I think they can ride out the Gaudreau tragedy to at least maintain themselves. So I think it would be expansion if it does happen. We'll see. Time will tell on that one. Good question, though.
I'm always shocked that Buffalo is such a secure franchise. I'm just
Buffalo and San Jose sound like the two teams that just the attendance is down. They kind of suck. Their front office kind of blows. Just those two teams seem ripe for the pickings for a move.
At least San Jose has the fact that it's like Silicon Valley there, so you've got a bunch of tech bros with money who need something to do on a Tuesday night. Whereas like Buffalo, there's no bustling anything there. The chicken wings is the best part about the place if the Bills aren't playing. So yeah, I guess it's iconic. It would be whatever, but yeah, I'm still surprised. I'm like, if they were successful as a team, sure, why not? But wow, I'm like, I can't believe they're as secure as they are. And I know they're not rock solid foundation. They've got arena issues of their own to deal with. But yeah, that's another one that I'm like, man, what's the upside?
Yeah, the cool throwback jerseys from the late 90s when they had the black and the buffalo head. I still think those are some of the sweetest jerseys ever made. That's the only thing Buffalo's got going for them.
The 90s were a better time.
Yes, they were. There's all this, the rumors, which in my opinion, there's no way we can make it happen. But Tage Thompson being on the same line as Logan Cooley and Clayton Keller, everybody wants us to go market him. Well, he's in year 2 of a 7-year deal in Buffalo. I don't think they're moving him for the price we want to pay, but that's fun. So Buffalo can take their really good players, develop them, and in their prime, trade them away, just like they did Jack Eichel.
Yeah, they're the Atlanta Falcons of hockey. Just get really good players and then move on to the next shiny thing, and we're the benefactors. I love that. Speaking of Keller and Cools being at Worlds, just them doing their good missionary efforts to all the other players, saying, "Yeah, we play in Utah and it's sick. They're building us a new practice facility. The fans are awesome," and that they're like doing tampering without doing tampering officially. And yeah, so I love that. Not only Keller getting the C for the national team, forget about it. That's incredible. And just, I feel like there's a lot of good karma juju vibes for the Mammoth right now.
There it is. So that is my last question that I have before rapid fire. It is the Mammoth. The name, I've seen you have been on Team Mammoth for as long as I can remember. How do you feel about the way the name saga has played out from the start to now, where it's been leaked on YouTube as the Utah Mammoth, but nothing confirmed officially? What's kind of your overall thoughts on the naming, and how soon do you think it's going to be the draft when they announce it?
I know that Ryan is really good at kissing the ring of Gary Bettman, and Bettman would not want anything to happen before the Stanley Cup was lifted. So that we have our window that it will definitely happen in between Stanley Cup raising and draft day. I doubt that they'll do like they're not going to reveal it until we're up on the stage with our player and then just show it then. But yeah, so as soon as we have a champion, I'm clicking refresh on the YouTube page again to see when the name gets changed. I was on Team Mammoth all the way up until it was announced that Yeti would not be the option. If you Google, not Google, if you go on YouTube and search Utah super fans on Fox 13, they did a story with me because I had a license plate on my car that said NHL Yeti, because I had inside info that that's what the team was going to be named, and it was. Everything was set for that, and then the cooler company said, no, I don't know. And so but again, I'm just so happy to have a team. They could be called the Paperclips for all I care. But I just wanted to be like first in line with a cool license plate. So the day that got announced, I went to my local DMV here in Heber and changed my plate is now, the word mammoth was already taken because it's just a word that probably somebody had forever ago. But I did get M4 MMOTH. So yeah, I have corrected the luck. I'm not riding around in the Yeti mobile anymore, and I still get people coming up to me like, "Hey, I saw you on the news. You look foolish." And I'm like, "Well, I amended it quickly. I was told we all saw the logos. They had all the branding set up. They were ready with Yeti. It just didn't pan out. However, I'm a big archaeology, paleontology nerd. So I love the fact that we can have like a fossilized giant of the Ice Age be our mascot. My cousin, he goes by Bam Bam's Barbecue on Twitter. He's a big hockey guy. I told him, I don't know if you know this, but they unearthed a mammoth skeleton 2 doors down from your restaurant like 20 years ago when somebody was building a trench. And mammoths aren't like special to Utah, but we have a lot of them here and a lot of good ones. So I love that tie. I just think it's big. It's cool. The branding can be awesome. Yeah. So I say save Outlaws for our baseball team. That will happen. And I feel like that's just more fitting. And also, we kind of live in a world that's a bit more woke and sensitive to certain things. There would be no gun imagery, so I feel like Outlaws would just end up being like cowboy western wear themed, and I don't know. That never quite jibed with me.
I've seen the mock-ups, and they weren't great. So, granted, they had to produce them very quickly when they replaced the Wasatch name, but I agree, baseball for sure. Dustin,
Outlaws
do you have any final questions?
I was just going to add that the Outlaws does feel like a baseball team, but it's like a 16 and under traveling baseball team. When we get a major league team in Utah, it has to be the Trappers.
Throwback to the Trappers, eh? It's
yeah.
been a long time.
And Bill Murray can buy stake in the ownership like he did with the OG Trappers.
Could you imagine a baseball rivalry, Trappers versus Rockies or Outlaws versus Diamondbacks? That sounds better. But I respect baseball. It's fun. It's a fun way to kill time. But no, I will say my only criticism of Mammoth is that it's not plural. That just it kind of, I'm like, are we one big mammoth? Is like every player is one of the legs and someone's the trunk?
Yes. It's like the Power Rangers, like how they all had their own.
Heck yeah.
And then they would morph into just the big, huge, giant robot at the end for the big crescendo, the fight at the end. That's what we are. Just like each line is one different part of the mammoth, and then we come together in the third period for just one last, just final blow.
That's it. I'm going to put together a really janky gif of Keller's the right arm, Sergey's the left leg. Yeah.
I just want the kids to come up with something like a thing, you know? I don't know what a mammoth sounds like, but I assume elephant-esque.
It's I've heard, again, because I'm a big nerd and I look into these things. I did some research on what the vocal chambers of a mammoth is, and it is an elephant but deeper. So it ends up like being quite haunting and kind of scary.
And if you paid any attention to our Twitter feed, we posted a video of what the goal song should be, and the goal horn was a mammoth roar. If you paid any attention to our own Twitter,
Listen, this old memory, we might as well be the Utah goldfish over here, okay? I got nothing. It's like 2 seconds and it is gone. YouTube and TikToks and the Get It Now have ruined me. And mush
I think
up
it
here.
was Clubbers Till I Die came up with like the mammoth like hand signal, like the 2 fingers are the trunk and then the 2 fingers are the tusks.
like the old NWO Wolf Pack, if you're
Oh,
into
heck
the
yeah.
WWF days.
Tusks.
Yeah.
Sting was my boy back in the day.
Tusks up. We'll see if it is. We'll see if it is. Now, Dustin, before we move into the final segment, any final questions for Erik?
No, I'm ready for rapid fire. I'm wondering if Erik have you listened to any of the previous Fanley Cup episodes?
Just your, let's see, the one I only know people by their Twitter names that had Johnny BG.
Okay,
and
Johnny and Utah Hockey
his-
Mom.
yeah, exactly, yes.
Okay.
So you're familiar with this next segment at least. So this is the patented 2-line pass rapid fire segment. All the guests have it, and all the guests love it. We're going to ask you 5 questions, my friend. We want top of your head answers. First thing that comes to your mind, and then we're moving on to the next. Dustin, do you have the questions? Do you have the fifth?
I do. They are all
Okay.
prepared. They are all ready.
So we're going to ask alternating questions. Dustin will start. Are you ready, Erik, to play 2-line pass Fanley Cup Series rapid fire?
My body is ready.
All right,
All right.
Dustin,
Here
when you are.
we go. Both of them top of their game, burger or pizza?
Oh, pizza. 100% of the time.
All things considered, BYU or University of Utah?
BYU. It's in my blood. I won't deny it. Neither dare I.
Big spoon or little spoon?
I physically, I can't not be Big Spoon.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yes, and it's the best sandwich on this gosh darn planet.
Would you cannibalize someone to survive on a stranded island, knowing that there's a 25% chance of rescue/survival if you eat them, but it's guaranteed death if you don't?
No, I have too much of a guilt complex. I would die and let them eat me.
Oh, I love it. Look at that. The fifth question did not stump Erik in the least.
I swear, like, I am almost like the last 3 or 4 of these interviews, I'm pretty sure like our guests are batting for the Houston Astros, and they just have somebody banging on a garbage can to let them know a curveball is coming, because every single one of them's been prepared. So
Home run, my friend, home run. Well, that was it. That was the rapid fire segment, and you crushed it. And Erik, we appreciate you coming on to the show. Before we give you a chance to shout out anybody, is there anything else you want to say about the Utah Hockey Club in this inaugural season?
Oh man, I could wax poetic for another hour, and man, we should talk again soon because this has been a blast, and it's fun to just it's fun to know that there's other hockey fanatics and zealots out there. And I think that's what I'm most looking forward to. My favorite moments have been at my office where somebody pokes their head in because I've got a jersey on my wall, the Gunner signed print. I'll wear a polo that just is printed to look like a Utah hockey sweater. So everyone knows I'm the Utah hockey guy. But my favorite moments are when somebody who is not a hockey person say, "Hey, I tuned into the game the other day," or hey, my family got tickets and we went and it was amazing. Those are the moments that really make it for me. Just that the love of the game is growing, and to hear people say like, yeah, I've just watched basketball. I just only watched the Jazz, but this is really awesome. And oh, it's to see it happening organically, and there's not some cheesy push that it's like, hey, we need to evangelize this. I I just love that it's people, the community is embracing it. And when they announced that they're going to build rinks, when they announced like the Learn to Play initiative for the youth, just so many of these things are just warming my heart that we got a team and we're building it and the community in the right way. It's I sleep very well at night. Not only that we have a team, but that their run and the management is doing a good job in stewarding it.
Absolutely. Erik, where can they find you on the Twitter? If you're not following Erik, go out there and do it. Drop your Twitter handle and then any shout outs you want to toss out there.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter just at ErikNystul. It's probably mostly hockey related. There will be occasional political snark, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to be better. Yeah, just shout out to State Senator Dan McKay, who kind of has let me in on a behind the scenes view of everything that's happened so far. And I want to put out a plug because people either when it comes to the Utah House of Representatives or the Utah Senate, they either don't like them or they hate them. I will say that get to know your locally elected reps and senators. They're not all Batman villains. There are a few, I granted, but a lot of them are willing to do cool things like this to make happen. And as long as they can hear from fans like us and just say, hey, I would love for this to happen, there's some cool dudes and dudettes up there that are willing to work with the people. So yes, I don't want to be a politician. Not all of them are good people, but there are a few classy, wonderful cream of the crop people.
Absolutely. And I'm a big advocate of getting involved in your local politics. I firmly believe local politics will impact you way more than national. So get involved, get to know people, and make some magic happen.
Yeah. And if you're giving me a platform, I'll also say stop watching cable news. It's just tabloids for conservatives and liberals. You're better off getting your news from a local source. And yeah, that impacts your day-to-day life way more than whatever the current party elites say. All right, now I'm officially done. I've got to get off that soapbox.
You segue us into, if you want your hockey news, you check out the Two Line Pass, guys.
Yes.
Thanks so much for listening to the Two Line Pass. Check us out on the YouTubes, on the Twitter at the Two Line Pass, on the website twolinepass.com. Erik, thank you so much for joining us today on this Fanley Cup series. Dustin, enjoy your seasonal allergies. You'll have them all summer, I'm sure. But thank you guys from me, Randon. I appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.
Tusks